Hi, I'm Eden Hugh. Duffin's Creek is a waterway in the eastern end of the Greater Toronto Area in Ontario, Canada. The watershed of the Duffin's Creek is part of the Durham and York regions, which include Markham, Whitchurch, Stouffville, Oxbridge, Pickering, and Ajax. The French missionaries who reached the stream in 1670 called it Rivière au Saumon, meaning the Salmon River, because of the large number of salmon fish that spawned there. Augustus Jones, who surveyed the area for the government of Upper Canada in 1791, states that the native name for the stream was Cinquatrit de Cailloc, meaning pine wood on side. Jones renamed the stream after Mike Duffin, the first person of European descent to settle in the area, which I'll get to in a moment. The current name of the stream first appears as Duffin on Jones' map in 1791. Subsequent records mentioned a possessive variant, Duffins. Projectile points, arrowheads if you like, have been discovered at 4 late Paleo-Indian sites in the Duffin's Creek watershed, dating from 10,000 years to 7,000 years BCE. Around Lake Ontario, the indigenous peoples have been commonly associated with the lakeshore, which fluctuated because of the melting glaciers. At the end of the last glacial period, Duffin's Creek met Lake Ontario at a point located 10 to 20 meters below the present surface level. So any evidence of indigenous activity at the mouth of Duffin's Creek would be underwater now. Scattered remains of flint tools and flakes have been discovered at several inland sites dated to the Archaic period of 7,000 to 1,000 BCE. Detailed excavations have not been carried out at these sites, so little information is available about the prehistoric residents of the area. Several sites, dated to the early and middle woodland period, 1000 BCE to 700 CE, exist along the Duffin's Creek, but not much research has been done on them. The sites from the late woodland period, 700 to 1651 CE, indicate the existence of permanent villages that were occupied from 5 to 30 years. Some of the Iroquoian villages were 3 to 10 acres in size, featuring long houses and palisades. The largest site from this period in the Duffin's Creek watershed is the Draper site, which was excavated during the 1970s for the proposed Pickering Airport. In the mid-17th century, the Iroquois people displaced the Peton and Wendat Huron people from what is now southern Ontario. The Iroquois Seneca people established riverside villages in nearby areas along the Rouge and Humber rivers. However, the Duffin's Creek was not as attractive for building a settlement because a sandbar at its mouth prevented boats from entering it. Moreover, it was navigatable for canoes only for 6 kilometers upstream. When Europeans arrived in present-day Ajax, at least one Ojibwe family resided in the area, as attested by Arthur Field. This family lived at the east edge of the Duffin's Creek marshes until the mid-19th century. Unlike the Rouge River watershed, where a well-established trail ran along the stream, the Duffins Creek watershed remained largely ignored by the early European visitors in the area. In 1670, French missionaries from someplace I can't pronounce reached the Duffins Creek, but didn't settle there. So, in the 1770s, Mike Duffin was an Irish fur trader who built a cabin on the east side of the creek, north of a trail that later became the Kingston Road. At the beginning of the 19th century, the Duffins Creek was navigable as far up as Kingston Road. Later, the water flow decreased as a result of construction of mill dams and clearing of forests for farming. The dams also cut off the salmon from their spawning grounds. Pickering Village, a settlement initially known as Duffins Creek, developed along the stream in what is now Ajax. The first mill in the new settlement was established in 1810 by Timothy Rogers on the banks of Duffins Creek. At the time of Rogers' arrival, thousands of salmon from Lake Ontario came to the Duffins Creek. By the time of his death in 1834, the salmon had practically disappeared from the stream. The growth of Pickering Township was slow compared to the other parts of Greater Toronto Area, because much of the land was held by absentee landlords or held as crown and clergy reserves. During 1825 to 1900, the population of the Duffins Creek watershed increased substantially because of growth in farming and other businesses. After 1850s, several smaller communities declined as people migrated to the larger centers located along the Grand Trunk Railway. Pickering Village and Stouffville, where several mills had earlier been established and which were now accessible by the railway, emerged as the major population centers of the area. The community around the DIL munitions plant evolved into the town of Ajax in the mid-20th century. The northern part of the Duffins Creek watershed did not develop as rapidly as other watersheds in the Greater Toronto Area because the Government of Canada marked a large portion of land for the proposed Pickering Airport. The Duffins Creek drains an area of 283 square kilometers, much of which is owned by the government. The federal government owns around 75 square kilometers. The provincial government of Ontario owns around 28 square kilometers, and the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority, TRCA, owns around 23 kilometers. Thank you for watching this brief look at the Duffins Creek. I hope you enjoyed our time together. Leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more vacation coffee table videos like this one.